everybody can go on mute, please. And welcome to the Virtual Business Owners Network on Friday, the 5th of April, 2024. And our guest presenter today is Graham Mulhearn, who is an expert around the whole area of cybersecurity. And he's going to share some insights around email and all the things we need to take care of and be aware of. Off to you, Graham.
Thank you, Alec, and good morning, everybody. Graham Mulhearn is my name, and I'm at bsecureonline.co.uk, advisor and cyber shop to business. Alec, thank you very much for the invitation. Despite the next notice, I was happy to take the challenge. I was working on it, or my thoughts, until 1:30 in the morning. So much obliged to you for that. Anyway, it's good to be done. I'm just going to press a button here. It's great to have somebody like Alex around because he gives you great feedback and instruction on how to proceed, and brevity is the soul of wit. So that's what I'm going to focus on this morning. Just 3 points only. I'm going to talk about insurance, what it is. I find there's a lot of uncertainty and lack of clarity around insurance for data protection and all of that, and cybersecurity. So I will speak briefly to that. And something that underpins it is a scheme that is largely UK based, but I think many of you might be interested in it. And it's actually, for once in your life, it's actually simpler and easier than you might expect. It's not like filling in a Ross Form 11 or doing your income tax returns and trying to get your taxes down. It is essentially quite easy. So that's nice. And the other thing I want to talk about is an unexpected boon in my business this year, and has probably carried half the new sales and more new sales to existing and net new clients this year, is this whole area of security around email sending and domain name protection. And I've sent it there: sender reputation, email impersonation. So those are my 3 topics this morning. The last time I know I overran speaking. So today, with any luck, I'm going to keep it super, super short. And there's just 1, 2, 3 topics. There was an horrible English presenter. I think he did 3, 2, 1. And he was Mrs. Thatcher's favorite, by the way. I can't remember, on a Saturday night. Anyway, again,
Ted Rogers.
That's it. And he died sometime recently. He was not a service. He got absolutely no recommendations for his service to comedians. He used to think he was one. Now, that's me. That's the firm. Here's the topics. I'll start with email. And as I say, I'm going to keep this very, very short. There are a whole lot of things you can do in the world of cybersecurity. But one of the things that has emerged in very recent times, since really just running into Christmas and the start of this year, was that Google and Yahoo announced and have now enforced that they now view the internet and email in particular as a very, very serious threat. The first thing that they did is they focused in on things like Yahoo and Hotmail and aircom.net addresses. And what they're looking for now is extra user verification, particularly with businesses who are not using their own domain name. By domain name, if you work for IBM, your domain would be ibm.com, ibm.co.uk, IBM, or Microsoft, or it could be alecdrew.com. That's a domain name. And there's a real boon around the whole idea of protecting your domain name with a view to protecting your reputation, ensuring that the person that receives it receives the email in the form of a waxed post or a waxed mail, so the seal ain't broken. So this is about enabling the recipient to be absolutely sure that the person sending it is the real thing and that checks have been made. Because with AI now, particularly, there's the ability to intercept a mail en route to its recipient and change it. And you never want to, and nobody ever wants to hear the day and go to the boss and say, boss, a client of ours has received a mail from me, which I did not send. Or the banks are very, very cautious at the moment. If you know, adding new payees to your AIB.ie account, the banks will say, have you rung that company to vocally, on the phone, verify that that is the correct IBAN? And I recently had the experience where I was paying an AIB, and I'm an AIB man myself, an AIB account in one of my suppliers in Malahide. And I rang the bank because they had stopped my sending of this particular payment and said, you can confirm the AIB is that, you can confirm that company is your customer, you can confirm the branch, and you can confirm that IBAN. And she said to me, Graham, you need to ring them we are not guaranteeing that payment, and we will be not held liable for its distribution. So I had to ring, double check, and then I had to ring the girl back and say, I've done that, it's fine, and she released the payment. So this is sort of where we're getting to. And there's a technology, I'm not going to name it for the moment because it's actually sort of a Google-ish one, but anyone who wants to know more about it, please just give me a quick email. But there is an emerging threat, not on the receiving side, not on the antivirus side, not on the ransomware side. It is about protecting your domain name and your good name to ensure that your emails get through. And by way of proving this, I use Salesforce on occasion, and I have a MailChimp and an Aweber account. And all three of those were stopped towards the end of January. And all of those services said I can no longer send emails until such time as I had changed my DKIM, checked my DMARC and my CNAME, and added additional protections to them using this service. But all of that was enforced. And I can see a tiering of the internet and email now where preferential emailing for business will be maybe a cent or a half a cent per email sent, so that you get secured maximized delivery. There's certainly something about in terms of email trafficking, and perhaps providing a first-class service in the form of the current postal service. And so that's threat number one, which is there is a movement to protect. There are things that you can do. And as I say, this service that I'm selling and that's out there at the moment is one of the hot topics. And it is my distributor is dribbling at this thing at the moment, dribbling every day. They send at least 2 emails. In fact, their entire product stack is not getting as much. And the sales director says that this particular thing has led to a record quarter at one of my distributors, the guys who run this service. So it's really in vogue. It's very much a threat. It's not fake. There's absolutely no hyperbole from me. And it's something you need to be aware of. And there are things you can do about it. By the way, we sell it at around 500 quid per year to our customers. That's up to about 150 employees. And that protects their employees, their customers, and their suppliers. And to be honest, one of my customers is just emailing me in the background, calling for an emergency installation of the product that he bought last week for his 3 domain names in Ireland. Right, next thing. That's part one. So I'm more than halfway through now, I would say. Many people, and I've gone to some effort to find out, many people want to know a little bit more about cyber insurance. What does it cost? What level do I need it? What would be a good idea for me to go through? And I'll start with this. I was speaking with 2 insurance brokers renewing a client who spends about 68,000 a year on cyber insurance. And I was having a chinwag with the agent. And I asked him, what are the top 2 claims? And he said, one, Graham, by a country mile, is funds transfer. We all know what I'm talking about. And funds transfer refers back neatly to the first topic I was talking about, which is where people are being induced into sending funds to somewhere they shouldn't, or by mistake. And as you all know, human error is the greatest cause. Funds transfer. And number 2 is ransomware payments. Ransomware payments, he said, they're normally paying out about 60 grand. Because obviously the excess is somewhere in the area between 15 and 30, depending on your cover. The funds transfer, he says they're paying between 250 and 500 to people who make claims. And he gets a lot of people who ring in and say, look, I want to explore making a claim with you, and they have a coffee. And the client decides, you know what, I'm going to leave it. And he says that's about half, if not more, the claims. So the guy goes away, considers or says, you know what, I'm going to let this slide. I'll tighten up my book, and but I'm not going to go for the reputational damage because I don't trust people in the industry. So I'm just going to wear the loss. But those are those are the two things. Now there are other things that you can claim for, but those are the two actively things that the industry understands, can provide cover for, will pay, and can price reasonably. Um, the average payment that I have found is that it starts for the smaller businesses somewhere around 5K. And indeed, I was speaking with a former speaker to this group, and her company, I've probably now given it away, but she was talking about being quoted around $5,000 for cyber cover. And I've given you an indication of what the type of cover is and what the most claims are made for. I have a distribution client in County Cork. I won't say what industry, but last year, because of measures that I helped them introduce last year, and because of some one or two very simple things, we were able to get their insurance cover down from just over 200K to closer to 150 in 1 year. So the underwriter came in. They put the case, look, we've stepped up our game in a major way. We put in a thing called awareness training, which is, I haven't got time to go into that, but it's a technology that delivers very consumable content. Some would say enjoyable, short form, less than a couple of minutes a day, with fish testing. So it'll give you reporting on which one of your staff are the most likely to give in to a fish, or a phishing email, or something that may have. So the idea is to make people more aware and help protect them. That's certainly one thing. And in terms of making, Graham, what can I do before I get a quote that can help me reduce the cost? This is the third point I'm speaking to today, and I think I'll probably be finished in the next couple of minutes. But there's a scheme, and Alec and I were talking about it, that's kind of UK based. We, as usual, have not made much of an effort, but the cyber offices in the UK, and fair play to the UK, they are something of an industry leader in terms of regulating both parental control and children, and being more avant-garde and pressing it, and business protection. And the National Cybersecurity Service and a couple of other bodies have a scheme called Cyber Essentials. And there is a series of very simple steps that an assessor can independently make for you. And by the way, I've just checked the price on the website, and I think I slid the website name into the chat earlier, where you can look this up to give some kind of. So don't forget, the question here is, Graham, is there anything I can do, or little steps that I can take before I ask my cyber insurer to come in and give me an underwriting quote or a quote? And I'm saying there's this step called Cyber Essentials, and Cyber Essentials is performed by an independent and it's an assessor, and it's a lot less expensive than you might think. It's a lot less tiresome, and I think you could probably do it. It's certainly not like doing ISO 2000, nothing like it, or 9000, whatever it's called, nothing like it. It's quick and easy. A few questions in maybe 2 or 3 1-hour Zoom calls. And the cost, by the way, is about €350, including excluding VAT, I don't know, for 0 to 9 employees. And that's for their entry-level service. They have a sort of pro, more volumized service for bigger companies. But I think the Cyber Essentials is something, and it's well worth looking into. Have I taken any of these steps in my own business for my own protection, regardless of insurance? So to conclude, we've talked about the threat and the general interest in commercially from people around, the sender reputation, and am I guaranteeing my recipients, my email recipients, that the email I am sending them is the genuine and the real thing. I am not being impersonated, and that nobody is being codded by emails which are fake from me. And that's big. There was a huge push in that because Yahoo and Google started enforcing that and making sure that companies like MailChimp, Aweber, SAP, Sage, and the emails that you send from in there, like invoice reminders, statements, that kind of thing, were all genuine and from the genuine sender. B, we talked about insurance. And C, we talked about Cyber Essentials, which is a scheme that helps you sort of go through some simple steps that will help you in general and will help you get a more reasonable cyber insurance quote. Just for anybody thinking about it, I've not come across a quote any lower than 3,750, and when the person went to grab it, it was slightly higher. It came in more like 4,800. But I have seen quotes. But that's the sort of price. Now, I'm sure there's likely to be some difference as you quote. But it is, your risks are insurable, and those are some of the steps that you can take. And I see what time it is. Oh, it's 10:31. And I think, Alec, that might wind me up. So 3 things covered, as I said, and thank you to everybody and for indulging your patience.
Thank you very much, Graham Mulhearn from Be Secure Online. I'll stop the recording now, and then we'll open it up for any questions people have. Okay.